This is the Certifiable Environmental Professional Podcast, and I'm your host, Sam Hopstone. This is my journey to uncover the untold tales from the resumes of fascinating professionals shaping our planet's future.
Certifiable environmental professional.
And you're listening to Certifiable Environmental Professional Podcast.
Carbondale doctoral program, was it also conservation biology? Just brings a smile to my eye. That sounds, yeah, it's just nice. Sounds nice. Conservation biology.
No, my doctorate is actually a bunch of stuff, depending on how I feel, depending on the time. No, my PhD is actually in disease ecology, herpetology, zoology, and stream ecology.
Was that all on the paper? Just
No.
3 lines.
No,
You were just talking about like your coursework.
No, they ask you, and I said, yeah, just put zoology on there, and kind of brought full circle from when I was 19 and starting out as a zoo major.
Perfect. Fantastic. Were there any of the same, how do you say that? Not the same species, but the same kind of habitats that you were following over there? Or was it like,
Not at all.
It's like a new continent, you know what I mean? It's east of the Rockies, so it's a totally different, it's like moving to
It
another
is totally different.
region.
They have deciduous hardwood forest out there. We do not. We have evergreen forest. And they have much, much more water and wildlife out there. You didn't have to leave your house. You know, you'd have eastern box turtles just coming up your driveway like, hello. They had 23 species of turtles out there. We have one. It's the center of salamander radiation right there in Southern Illinois. I fell in love with Southern Illinois. I honestly didn't want to come back. But all of my field work, my field work was all here in California. At that point, I was working on amphibian disease, and I was working on California red-legged frogs, California tiger salamanders, and doing my disease research down in southern San Jose.
What was your like thesis for the doctoral program? Amphibian related?
Yeah, okay, so it's a mouthful. It was called Distribution of Amphibian Chytridiomycosis in a Central California Amphibian Community.
So you got to go back, you headed back west.
Oh yeah, every year I came back and I did all my field work in California. Yep.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's clicking. Okay, and then did you stay in Southern Illinois afterwards? Did you jump back into consulting, or you headed back to California?
Well, I wanted to teach. That was the whole reason I got the PhD. I wanted to go into teaching, and my timing was really bad because I graduated in 2009, at which time universities were getting rid of professors. They were tending more towards, they were hiring lecturers as opposed to, professors. And I also had a bit of a constraint because my husband wanted us to go back to California, and there really just weren't any teaching jobs in California at the time. So I was, one of my old colleagues contacted me for assistance with a salt marsh harvest mouse project, and that gave us the means to, move back to California. And so I ended up back in consulting. Yeah.
Awesome. Did you move back to the Bay? Doing Bay work, or were you still traveling over?
Yeah, we lived in we kind of jumped around a little bit, but we were in Newark, and then we were in Hayward for a number of years.
East Bay. Cool.
Yeah, and then ultimately in 2017 we moved up to the foothills.
Nice.
So it was.
Did you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you ever do any stints working for the government, or getting into like working in academia as an employee, or has it been private consulting? Pretty much from
Yeah, I
at each
did. I
footstep.
did try to do that a little bit. I have over 30 peer-reviewed publications now. So all of my doctoral research was published. I think 6 or 7, maybe eight articles in national and international journals, and a number of other papers that I did in collaboration with some other folks. So I did. I love research. It's really the thing that I like the most. But plum academic jobs are definitely hard to come by, and it's a little bit of the luck of the draw. And I had constraints, because I had a family, and so, you can't just say run off to, well, I'm going to go hang out here for a year, or something. Doesn't really work. So, so I've done my academic stuff pretty much kind of on the side. I can share one story about this. It was an interesting story. Before I started my doctorate, I got into amphibian disease work very early on, mainly because my partner at the time volunteered me, unbeknownst to me, to give a talk on amphibian disease at the Southern California Sensitive Amphibian Workshop. This was, I think, in 99 or 2000. And I said to her, why did you do that? I don't know anything about amphibian disease. She said, well, you were an operating room nurse. And I said, well, those two things don't go together. What the heck? But, he had already volunteered me for it. So I decided, okay, well, I'll
Bring
deal
it,
with this.
bud.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm going
go.
to have to bring it. So I started doing a bunch of research, and that was when I found out about these unexpected die-offs and things that were going on. And reached out to Norm Scott, who was the grandfather of California red-legged frog. At the time he was at USGS, and it was a real thing. It was going on, and a researcher, a mycologist at the University of I think it was Orono in Bangor, Maine, had actually identified a pathogen that was killing frogs around the world. And
They isolated it.
Yeah, so
insane.
I gave this talk, and what I did at the time is I thought, the more I got into it, the more I realized, well, this is kind of weird, because when I worked in the OR, you had a sterile operating room. Like, you would never bring in one patient to the room that you just finished with another patient, right? Everything gets cleaned up, it gets sterilized, you start all brand new with sterile stuff. And I realized that what we were doing as biologists, with great pride, might I add, is we were going pond to pond to pond to pond to pond, bringing whatever we had with us to every other pond we went to. And, if our pants stood up in the corner by themselves, at the end of the day, that was a big thing. I worked that hard and I got so dirty, my pants stand up by themselves. And I realized that's not good. When you've got pathogens out there in the world that are killing these frogs. So I wrote up a decontamination protocol. And I presented that. I printed it out as a brochure, and I presented it at that workshop. And I also started a website where I wanted to track amphibian diseases. And I talked about that at the next workshop. And this was really early, before really anybody was doing anything with amphibian disease.
Is this like the precursor to the Declining Amphibians Task Force? This is like the foundation?
Well, no. DAFT was already in existence.
It was already around? Okay.
But disease as a factor in the decline of frogs had never been considered. And in fact,
Interesting.
when the first paper kind of started coming out, this guy named William Laurance wrote this paper, and the entire herpetological community poo-pooed it. In fact, they refuted his article because
Bleach is
Mr.
not the answer.
Right, because Mr. Laurance was not a herpetologist, he was an epidemiologist. And so the herpetologist is like, oh, no, this is,
We need to
right.
hear it from a herp.
Yeah. And it was just it was kind of crazy. And so that was the era when I had started to get involved. So apparently this gentleman had been at the talk and had my brochure. And about 6 months later, I get a call from him or an email, and he's frantic. He's trying to get help because I've got this die-off going on at my park. I'm afraid it's this amphibian cotyledonmycosis, and I can't get anybody to help me. And I said, well, sure, I'll help, but I'm not really sure what to do, but I do know we need to get samples. And so he had reached out to UC Davis, he'd reached out to UC Berkeley, he'd reached out to USGS, and nobody would do anything to help him.
Yeah, call a
So I
consultant.
got a couple of folks together. We went out as a team, and we went out and we got a bunch of samples from all the ponds. And only now what? I didn't know what to do. I'm okay, great. I've got
Get
samples.
out there with some dirty boots and spread it around.
So I called Joyce. I reached out to Joyce Longcore, the woman at the University of Orono in Bangor, Maine. And I said, would you be willing to look at these samples? All the other people I reached out to wouldn't look at them, or they say, well, we might look at one. Well, one is going to do you no good. Joyce agreed. So I shipped all this stuff to her. I mean, we're talking jars of samples. So then I got to thinking, I wonder if she would be willing to teach me how to identify the pathogen. And I thought, well, all I can do is ask. And so I did. And she said, well, sure, come on out. So I flew to Bangor, Maine. I spent 2 weeks around Christmas with Joyce Longcore.
Yeah,
she taught me
Christmas
how
break.
to identify the pathogen in situ. She taught me how to make slides and how to read the slides myself. And so when I left there, I knew how to identify this pathogen, and I knew how to do this stuff. So I had an idea for a study. Well, in order to do that, I needed federal permits to allow me to collect red-legged frogs and tiger salamanders. So I wrote up my permit application. I wrote up a research proposal. I had 6 different components to my research proposal. I sent it off to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And about a year later, I got some comments back on my research proposal. I still have that letter because it absolutely floored me when I read it. So at this time, it was 2004. So we're in the 2000s now. I have a master's, and I'm working, and I'm doing all kinds of stuff. And the letter essentially said, in response to my research proposal, where I was proposing to look at the distribution of the pathogen on an individual level, on a species level, on a community level, and on a landscape level. And then I also wanted to look at the susceptibility of different species to infection by this pathogen. So wrote in his review of my proposal, and I quote, "Research cannot be done in the kitchen," unquote. I guess he never heard of Marie Curie, maybe. And the interesting thing is that, and I kept it because that type of a comment is not something that you forget. And I kept that letter. And I did get accepted into a PhD program. I became a National Science Foundation Fellow. And I went on to do every single piece of research that I proposed to do. And every single piece of that research was published. So I guess he was wrong.
You have that letter framed on the wall?
No, it's in a file cabinet. Yeah.
Oh. That didn't end where I thought it would end. That was wild.
Yeah.
What where was the location for this research project, like at the landscape level?
You know where Mount Hamilton Observatory is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's down in that area. Joseph Grant County Park was one of them, and then Blue Oak Ranch, which is it's now owned by UC Berkeley. At the time I was there, it was not, but it's a preserve and a research center. It was, I sampled 90 ponds across
Blue Oak.
16,000 acres for 10 years.
16 or 60?
16,000 and 90 ponds, give or take, depending on rainfall. I worked there too.
Where was the, I'm trying to visualize like the research proposals going out. Was that going to DC or like to the regional office?
It
Like,
goes to
who
the
are these
Sacramento field office.
Sacramento. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. My goodness.
Yeah.
She's had quite the career.
You've seen, and you've watched the industry. You've watched the makeup of our field change over the years as well. It's a beautiful thing.
A lot, yeah. The senior people belong in the field. That's the main thing. The senior people belong in the field where the up and coming biologists can get that field time. I mean, I didn't even call myself a herpetologist until I had been working as a herpetologist for 10 years. So, and I'm not an expert. Nobody's an expert. I don't care what they tell you.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how that word expert kind of plays out in me, like pursuing opportunities as well. It's where that subject matter expert, like how does that get defined across different disciplines and even like counties and states? And yeah, it's a funny, very subjective word.
The critters are the experts.
Yeah. Yeah, and conditions change every decade too. So it's like there's a temporal component to that. Interesting.
Yeah. We're all just hanging
research.
on for the ride right now.
Oh. Research can't be done in the kitchen.
You like that one, huh, Sam?
Yeah, that was great. I'm gonna keep that in my notes. Okay, I'm going back through my question list. You've progressed through your education to PhD. You've conducted consulting. You've conducted private research, peer-reviewed, well-published across the state, across the nation, internationally. You've mentioned a couple of different like society. How would you categorize Southern California Sensitive Amphibian Disease Workshop? Is there like a nonprofit that runs that SoCal Sensitive Amphibian Disease Workshop? I haven't heard of that one.
Usually it's some offshoot of the Wildlife Society.
One of their chapters.
Yeah, it's usually associated with the Wildlife Society.
Got it. So I feel like we've covered yeah, we've covered a lot of the questions, or we've covered a lot of the, how do you say that? A lot of the pieces of the pie I wanted to ask. Can you think of any current, like, do you hold any professional certifications right now? You don't have like licenses for wildlife biology, but yeah, if you could speak to, or if you're allowed to share, collection permits, regulatory approval, certifications. I've heard of 10A, 1A, and like ITP and BO specific agency approvals, but there's a lot more. There's a lot of species, regions, and field offices outside the valley that I love to learn about.
Well, so I'm 10A permitted for salt marsh harvest mouse, California red-legged frog, California tiger salamander, vernal pool brachiopods, and then foothill yellow-legged frog, and state permitted as well. I have ongoing research relative to all those species. I'm a certified wildlife biologist through the Wildlife Society. There really isn't any other certifications that you can have.
Can I intervene there? The TWS, like certified wildlife biologist, I haven't conducted a lot of research into that realm. Is it species specific or categorical? Like, are you a herp or what's
No,
is it just a general?
It's a wildlife biologist certification, and it's I'm not sure I understand how it came to be kind of a thing. Because I do feel that personally, I feel that, we went to college for a very long, in my case, I went to college for 22 years. So I'm not really clear on why but I went ahead and did it, anyway, just to say I had done it.
I'm in the water field and I'm a cert chaser. Like I just see them and I get them. It's just like a thing I'm always working on.
Also, scientific collecting permit. You didn't say that, and not everybody has that, but you're supposed to.
Is that specific to like a collection event, or does it have an expiration? Like how does that?
They all have expiration dates.
Is it like a 1 year?
Yeah, they all
like
do. You have to renew. Yeah, okay. And every time there's a new listed species, you have to amend your permits. Yeah. So they're definitely a lot more challenging to get than they used to be. Not the least of which because the agencies are so understaffed. So, yeah.
Is it like an annual? Is it like an annual renewal?
Federal is 5 years. Scientific collecting permits generally last 3 years. Be nice if they could coordinate those and make them both be 5 years, but
too easy.
Yeah, they're all on their own time frame.
Yeah. Okay, society memberships. Are you active in the Wildlife Society or like
no,
I'm thinking of Declining Amphibians Task Force?
I'm a member of I'm a member of the Wildlife Society. I'm a member of DAFT. I'm a member of American Society of Ichthyologists and Herpetologists. I'm a member of the Society for Conservation Biology. I'm a member.
What does that mean exactly? You just pay a membership and you're a member? Do you actively participate?
Yeah, you get stickers. They send you, like a backpack every year.
The main the stickers are nice, but the main thing is access to all the publications.
Oh, they
you could get that. You could get that on like Google Scholar though.
No, you can't. No, they're not free.
Okay, so you get access to publications, and that's
lots of publications, so that you can stay current.
Do they have meetings?
I don't active. What?
Do they have meetings that you can attend if you want it?
I'm not going to the board meetings.
They all have meetings.
So they just like send out an invite or what? If you're a member?
No, there's a big announcement made, and you can sign up. And there's the main Wildlife Society conference, which is a big one, and then there are the chapters.
So wait, do you have to still pay for the conference if you're a member? Do you get to go for free?
No, you pay for it if you're gonna go.
Nobody's getting a free conference, even the exhibitors.
No, nobody's
goodness.
So you could be running the whole conference.
Okay.
No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. But I don't actively participate anymore. I've got too many other things that I'm doing these days. So no.
Perfect. So my question, yeah, do you use them? There's like there's access to these publications that is more easily accessed.
Yeah, it's all online.
Okay.
I used to get the journals and I really liked that, but I ended up with like hundreds of them and you have to.
Yeah, you get a stack on your desk.
Bookshelves, tons of bookshelves full of them, but yeah, kind of over that.
Do you have any advice or lessons learned for new professionals like navigating that arena? Or has it been a while since you were like, playing the game and how do you say that? Engaging in societies?
Well, yeah, I do. I have a couple of things I could say. I tried not to give advice just because.
Let's cut the interview.
Well, no, most people don't want advice, to be honest. Most people, they're not going to listen to what you have to say anyways.
Right. Maybe lessons learned is better.
Yeah, but what I would say is the same things are important now that were important. They don't change. And the things that are important, the things that are going to get you opportunities is to really forge relationships with your professors, with your mentors, with the people. Show up, ask questions, volunteer for everything you can possibly volunteer for. And most of all, and seriously above all, maintain humility, because I already said this, the critters are the experts, but above and beyond that, as long as you have humility, you can learn something. And you can learn from everyone, not just your professors. I've been in this now for almost, close to 35 years. And I learn from my staff all the time. There are things that I can teach, but there are things they can also teach me. And so you've got to have at least some sense of humility at all times, because then you are open to learning and you're open to seeing something new. It keeps you from being in a box of, oh, well, I read the description of red-legged frog habitat, so now I know. No, you don't know, because that's in the box thinking. And red-legged frogs can occur in a lot of different places that are not talked about in any of these books. And so really keep that humility and keep that passion, because that's what's going to keep you excited and interested and engaged, and take advantage of every opportunity to get in the field. Don't get stuck behind a desk until you have no choice.
I really like the way you approach it. There's being a lifelong learner and just being open to concepts, but staying humble kind of keeps it's different from just me growing and expanding my expertise to acknowledging that, there's whole new fields and topics and how do I say that? Just as you said, right, wildlife can exist and act in unanticipated ways. So just being open to reassessing any assumptions and any preconceived notions. All that can be summarized and just stay humble. I've been hearing lifelong learning for years and years, but I haven't really thought of it like that. Staying humble. Love that. Okay. Totally separate conversation line. What's the craziest day of fieldwork that you can remember? It can be a happy crazy, it could be sad or scary crazy, and I can share one too to get it started if it helps.
Well, there's more than one. That's what I'm laughing at.
Yeah, you got to pick a favorite. That's the hardest part.
Okay, well, one of my favorite field days is when I was actually in the marshes doing the salt marsh harvest mouse research. So in my, this is, I think my last year of trapping out there, and I had this amazing colleague, Lori Isaacson, who was just the most incredible person and helper. I couldn't have done the work without her. She was just solid as a rock. And we had divided the marsh up. What she would do is she would go to the traps that you could get to from land, while I was in a kayak going out to get the traps that you could only get to by boat. And this, of course, remember, we didn't have no cell phones, no radios, no nothing. I'm just out doing my thing. She's doing her thing.
You have a bullhorn or what? Yeah, Lori!
No, and I'm a mile out at the farthest place.
Okay.
I'm a mile out in the marsh. And so I'm in this kayak, and what I would do is this is at like 4:30 in the morning. I would paddle out to the farthest trap site and start from the farthest out, and then work my way back towards where I would meet Lori at the dock. And so I'm out there and I'm paddling, with the kayak like this, right? And all of a sudden, one side of the oar snaps off. And the thing is, I've got animals in traps. This is urgent, right? I cannot not get out there. So now I've got this one thing, and then this little paddle thing. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh crap, now what? And I'm thinking, well, it's okay. I'll just do like a canoe, right? Except that actually doesn't work in a kayak very well. So I'm paddling and I managed to get, finally, took forever to get out to the trap sites. And I got to, I don't know, I got through a few, and then I got back in, and the one thing that you learn is, no matter what, save your data. So I had this notebook, okay, and it had all my data that I'm taking as I'm doing the trapping. I've got my notebook. So I'm paddling, and then the other one snaps off. I'm like, and now I'm out there in this kayak with this pole and these two pieces, and I'm sitting there, and it's, freezing cold, and I'm thinking, well, you're up a creek without a paddle. And then I'm thinking, she doesn't have both oars in the water. And these are going through my head, and I started cracking up. So I'm out there by myself in the middle of this marsh, and I'm cracking up, and I flipped the boat. I was laughing so hard, I flipped the boat, and I go into the really nasty estuary mud, but I've got my data. Like, oh my God, I've got my data. And so I saved the data, and I ended up having to do the rest of the traps by laying down on the kayak and paddling with my hands.
Yeah, body
and
surfing.
It took me, yeah, but in a kayak, which, is hard plastic with seats, and it doesn't, yeah. And by the time I got back to the dock, Lori was there just pacing, and she finally saw me coming as I'm paddling. And it was a mile, more than a mile, because I had to stop and do the traps on the way. She was so worried. She said, oh my God, I was so scared. I thought I was gonna have to call the police. And so anyways, but that was the craziest day, just because everything that could go wrong went wrong. And moral of the story is, if you're by yourself in a kayak out in the middle of the marsh, don't start cracking up, because you'll flip your boat.
Seems like a once in a lifetime experience breaking an oar. I don't get to hear about that. That's amazing.
Both sides broke off. Well, the other moral is, don't buy a cheap oar. You'll be sorry.
Bring a spare.
Anyway.
And you saved, and the data made it home.
Yeah, I saved the data. I didn't lose it. That would have been really bad, actually, because that mud, I don't know if you've ever been in an estuary.
Bay mud.
The black,
mud.
stinky mud. Yeah. No, that
You're not taking that back.
No, that would have been really, really bad. So, but that one just always stands out in my mind because I can still, it still cracks me up to think of myself cracking myself up.
Oh, what a treat.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to pivot one more time. What are you excited about this year? Anything that you're working on that you want to share? Looking ahead.
Well, actually, what I'm excited about right now, honestly, I'm excited about my job. I started with this ICF January of 2024.
Oh, so you're still pretty you're still pretty new to the org.
Yeah, I am.
First 2 years, you're like feeling it out and finding.
Yeah, and I had been in Indy for so long, and then I ran my own little shop for 8 or 10 years. Really never did kind of the more corporate thing. And this is my first real experience in a more corporate environment. And it's been fantastic. It's been a tough year personally. And they've been extremely supportive. The team that I work with, they're so collaborative. And really just very relaxed. It's a very relaxed kind of an atmosphere to work in. So like everything I do, I enjoy because of the people that I work with and because of, there's just this, what I like is like you're treated like an adult, which I know sounds kind of goofy, but they treat you like an adult. Like, no, we know you're going to do your job. We know you're going to, they seem to appreciate what I bring to the table, even all my weird stories. And I get to use all of the things that I know. I get to learn a lot of things that I don't know. And I get to meet a lot of really, really interesting people. And the projects that we work on, they're pretty large projects, and they have some pretty substantial contributions to conservation. And so I really like that part of it too. Right now I'm working with a team on a site where we've just got, critters coming out of the woodwork. And it's one of those rare sites you get to go to where you're just like, okay, wait, did you check your wheel wells? Because there actually will be something in your wheel well, be careful. So it's a joy to be out there. It's a joy to be, working and knowing that you're making a difference. So yeah, I'm grateful to ICF and I'm grateful to the folks I work with there. It's definitely changed my mind, about working corporate, and now I'm wondering like, well, what took me so long?
I had a corporate job 10 years ago, and I can tell you from the people that I meet and speak with and interact with now compared to the people I was interacting with 10 years ago, I think the corporate work environment has drastically changed in the past.
Well, it's for the better. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Not criticizing. A lot of positive change.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much, I would say it probably saved my life this last year, and I'm really enjoying it. And I enjoy everything. I get to do a lot of mentoring, which I enjoy too. Yeah. So it's been good. I'm looking forward to more years there.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Last question. Do you have any elevator advice that's like, 30 seconds for budding environmental professionals? I think we got a couple other gems I can cut out from the past, but if you've got anything off the top of your head that you want to share, no. Stay humble. That's a good. That'll be the that'll be the header.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. That's the last of my questions. Are you up? I guess I'll just say thank you so much for joining. That was a real treat. We covered a ton of ground. This was amazing. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming through and just sharing your wealth of experience.
You're welcome. I do have one question.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This says certifiable environmental professional. It makes it sound like we're certifiably crazy.
Yeah, you could make that interpretation. I understand. Appreciate it.